Yo, if I tell you this video went totally left, okay? I intended to make this video about old things, old cameras, old lenses, old buildings, like how I love old things. And I was gonna make this a metaphor, like a filmmaking, photography, camera space kind of video, but with a lot of life metaphors. So I got out in the street and my mind just went to a totally different place. And, you know, the way I am as an artist, I just go with it. You know what I mean? Like wherever I was, I just remained present in what I was feeling and what I was kind of wanting to express. And so that's what this video became. So just know that I was intending to make this a camera, old things, old gear, old stuff kind of video. And I will revisit that in another video. But I do want to play this video for you because I'm actually proud of where I wound up. And I'm glad that I just went with it, and so I hope you enjoy it, and it actually looks beautiful. I shot it with an anamorphic lens, my original S5, and I explained all that in the video, and yeah, so I hope you enjoy it, but I just wanted to explain that up front. And this right here, I'm shooting with the Panasonic GH5, and the rest of it is with the S5 and the anamorphic lens, a 24mm APS-C f2.8 Siri anamorphic 1.33 squeeze factor lens. And I'm gonna shut up now and let the video play because now you know. You know, there's a building behind me back there that is like really screwed up. You know, it's been like that since I moved up here. It's, you know, it's old. It's obviously, it's been abandoned. You know, there's nobody in it. It's been boarded up like that for a while. And I don't know, for some reason, it's so appealing to me. Like, I always think if I had the money, I would buy that building and renovate it. And I feel like there's ghosts in there and there's so many stories in there. And who knows what's happened in there and, you know, what kind of lives were lived, what the people were like, where they went, where they are now, what happened to them. I'm interested in stuff like that. It's one of the things I love about this area. You know, even though I miss the Bronx so much sometimes, like, sometimes I really question whether or not I should have left New York City. And, you know, I've left a few times and I always wind up going back. And I don't think I'm going to go back this time because I'm close enough to get there. You know what I mean? Like, I'm there a bunch of times every month. So, but there's so much I miss about it. And what I miss about it is the broken things, the old things, the things that are dilapidated and falling apart. And whenever they build new things in the city, it bothers me, you know, because they never respect the architecture of the past. But I realize that, you know, they're trying to do new things too, you know? And there's progress, which is a good thing, I guess, you know? But I don't know, lately, I kind of feel like it's not a good thing. But there's something really appealing about this area to me too, even though Poughkeepsie, New York is really kind of downtrodden and there are actually parts of Poughkeepsie where I won't shoot because I know that my gear would be in danger, you know? Like I'm not gonna just set up my camera and shoot in the middle of a bunch of homeless people or a bunch of, you know, there's a lot of drug traffic here. There's a lot of violence that happens in the streets out here. And yet it's a beautiful place. The architecture up here is amazing. These old buildings are incredible. Yeah, there's just something about it that's really appealing to me and makes me want to do theater out in the street here. You know, makes me want to just produce art for these people who probably have like no sense of hope, no direction, no kind of possibilities in their mind standing in front of them. I just look at these empty buildings and I'm like, that could be a theater. And, you know, I also noticed that there's a lot of art in the street up here, but it's always in the alleyways. It's never out in the open. And when I do see art out in the open, I see these parks, but there's like no picnic tables, there's no benches, there's no nothing for people to hang out. And then, you know, I asked friends, like, how come there's like nowhere for people to spend time and eat lunch there and create some kind of a downtown community? And they're like, well, because, you know, the homeless people wound up sleeping there or hanging out there, and so they got rid of it. And I'm like, you just keep taking things away from the people who have nothing, you know? Like, you can't even give them a bench to sit on. You know, you can't even give them an area to feel human for a minute, so they don't have to sit on the street. And then you complain about them sitting on the street, but you can't even give them a bench. You can't even give them a picnic table, you know? You can't provide any programs. So it makes me want to just come out here and do some renegade art, you know, because nobody started out wanting to be in a circumstance like that. Anyway, I'm going to keep moving around today and looking around. And you know, it's interesting too, you know, like sometimes they'll build kind of places that would be kind of a good kind of community gathering place, like this place back here. It's like cool restaurants on this block, you know, but this is kind of not on Main Street, you know what I mean? It's like out of the way. Like, this is not really, this is downtown Poughkeepsie, but it's like out of the way. It should be on Main Street. It should be on the main drag where everything else is. But it's kind of out of the way, so the people who come up here with money, who are not from here, you know, they tend to come to a place where they kind of gather, they create their own new area, but it's not including the people who've been here forever, who live in the main part of town, who, you know, could kind of integrate with the new people and create new community and build new things and fresh things, you know, and possibilities and opportunities and, you know, kind of help one another. I mean, that's much better way of, you know, I hate to use the term, but a better way of gentrifying, you know, and creating, you know, a city that is growing, you know, that has some kind of an evolution. But, you know, it feels more and more like there needs to be a revolution up here. You know, there's like a place back here called Detroit Pizza. You know, and I think that would be cool to have on Main Street, but, you know, I'll show you Main Street in a little bit. I'm going to go over there, but like I said, it's kind of weird to shoot there because, you know, it's not an easy place. But, you know, I lived in the Bronx for much of my life. I lived on 95th in Amsterdam and Manhattan for 20 years. That was definitely not an easy place when I was there. It was like just filled with drug dealers and homeless people and hookers, and it was a crazy place when I lived there. But everything was in the middle of the actual community. Anyway, I don't know. It's just kind of crazy out here. Makes me think. And you see what I mean? There's like art on the walls and these like out of the way places, like these alleyways that, you know, are not in the main part of town, which is kind of weird. I'll show you some other stuff in a minute. You know, it's funny. I'm looking at some of this art, and there's some like really amazing murals up here. And this is another alleyway in the middle of nowhere. But some of the signatures, I know these people from Brooklyn. There's a woman named Danielle Mastrian. She's got murals all over the place up here, which is really cool on the one hand. But on the other hand, why are they not like getting local artists to do these murals? I'm sure there are so many artists out here on the street who would love to contribute to their own town. But, you know, they're bringing people in from Brooklyn and shit, which is, I don't know, kind of weird. But Pretty cool, in any case. See that mural behind me down there? It's on a side street again, but let's go check that out. Wow, that is dope. All right, so initially I intended to go around the city of Poughkeepsie and show you some of the realities of it, you know, the way the neighborhood really looks from day to day. And I walk up and down Main Street all the time. Like, you know, I moved up here from New York City and I wanted to be a part of the community, you know what I mean? Like, I wanted to really understand what this city was like. I wanted to be able to perform around here, to contribute my art, to really be a part of this, you know. After I had been here for a while, I suddenly realized that there were like a lot of different parts of Poughkeepsie. And Main Street and downtown Poughkeepsie have very little to do with the arts community up here and what people are contributing or not contributing or whatever. Like, you know, nobody is really dealing with downtown Poughkeepsie. It's like, it's just kind of a dead zone, you know, and people do love to complain about it for sure. And they have these meetings all the time. They're trying to clean it up. And so, you know, that means gentrification is coming. That means that the inevitable pushing of people out who've been here forever, get rid of the people who are, you know, the problems, you know, the drug dealers, the violence, the guns, all that kind of stuff, the homeless, you know. There's a homeless shelter that opened up here. There's a few prisons up here. Like, people just talk about it like it's a problem, because it is a problem. I'm not going to say it's not dangerous, you know. I'm not going to say that there are not a lot of shady people. You know, I said myself, there are parts of Poughkeepsie where I don't feel comfortable bringing this setup. You know, like I have an anamorphic lens on the camera right now. And honestly, I didn't want to set up, you know, but part of the reason that I didn't want to set up on Main Street is because it feels disrespectful to me, you know? It feels like I'm kind of exploiting these people who are out here, these human beings, these people who need help. You know, these people who started their lives with the same hopes and dreams that everybody else starts their life with, and somehow wound up here because of things like racism, you know, gentrification, you know, the economy. Like, they wind up here for good reasons, you know. Well, good reasons, you know, like reasons that make sense. There are no good reasons that anybody winds up in a place like that in their life. But I don't know, it just feels exploitive to me, like I'm just taking pictures of people in a very vulnerable situation. And, you know, you could tell they don't feel comfortable with it. Like when they see me walking around with a camera, they're like, what are you doing? You know, like they think I'm a cop. They think I'm with, you know, some real estate developer. Like, nothing good, that's for sure. And so I talked to a lot of them, you know, and it's, you know, like, I would love to tell you that I have these beautiful conversations, and I would love to tell you that we come together and we talk about positive things and hopeful things, and we come to some kind of conclusion how, you know, whatever I'm doing out here can be positive for them, and how I can contribute to somehow making change in downtown Poughkeepsie or something like that. But I would be lying if I said that, because generally the conversations I have are with people who are high or drunk. Like, for example, the other day, some big guy walks up to me and he's like, yo, you know, like, if anybody fucks with you, let me know, I will beat their motherfucking ass, all right? So give me some money. And I'm like, I don't have any cash, I got no money. And he literally put his hand on my pocket, like he put his hand on my pants. And so I pushed him away. And he just kind of looked at me and I was like, yo, don't touch me. And so, you know, what started as, you know, for me, this hopeful kind of situation became an adversarial kind of situation where I felt like, yo, don't get it twisted. You know, like, I'm from the Bronx, you know, I'm from New York City. And all of a sudden it was like that, you know what I mean? Like, he put his hands on me. But then it made me sad, you know, because I looked at him, he was obviously not of his right mind. And there were a lot of people around, you know, just a lot of homeless people, a lot of drug addicts, a lot of hookers around. You know, Poughkeepsie is like New York City in 1985. Like, there are literally hookers and crackheads walking up and down the street. And it makes me sad, but it makes me think about the ethics of photographing and making video of people in the street like that when you're not doing something that is intending to help them. You know, where there's some kind of end game to make life better for them, to maybe do a documentary to raise awareness, to try to raise money, to try to do something to you know, deal with their mental illness, to deal with their homelessness, to deal with their drug addiction, to deal with their family situation, whatever the case may be. But it's none of that. It's just a YouTuber, you know, coming out here trying to get some cool, edgy pictures, you know, like, oh, yo, look at that. You know, he's got some cool shit, you know, on film, and it's fucked up to me. It doesn't make any sense. It's not helpful. It's not contributing. It's not changing anything. So what can I do? I have no idea. You know, and, you know, Poughkeepsie to me is a beautiful city. Like, I see beauty. I see magnificence. I see amazing architecture, but it makes me sad too, because I know that a lot of developers who are coming up here are intending to tear it all down and just build new stuff, you know, instead of taking the infrastructure that's here and renovating it and trying to get these people jobs or get them housing or get them help, something, you know, dealing with the people and the buildings. But I don't see it that way. You know, it's rarely that way anywhere. I value old things, you know, I value old cameras, old lenses, you know. I don't always want the newest stuff. Like, I don't see that as an advantage. And it's the same way I look at the world, you know, like, when they tear buildings down in New York City, it makes me sad. It was one of the reasons I left, was because, you know, I felt like they were tearing my city down, turning it into something that had nothing to do with the people that I came up with, you know. And to me, that's disrespectful. It makes me angry, to be honest. But, you know, on the other hand, I understand that, you know, progress is a good thing. But I don't know, I think capitalism, you know, it's like a whole conversation that you could have about money and power. And when people come in and just take over an area and change it for the way they want it, and then all of a sudden the people who've lived there forever can't even partake of the new restaurants and the new apartments and the new places to live and the new, you know, all the new services, and it's like too expensive. And so people who've lived there, who've built this community, you know, the culture of the community, like, you know, people come in and they build new stores, they put in restaurants, they put in, you know, places where you can buy things, they provide services. All of a sudden it's a good neighborhood, but they steal the culture that built this neighborhood and they push the people out who built that culture. And that's fucked up. But that's the way it is, you know, everywhere. That's what happens. And, you know, being white and being privileged, you know, it makes me feel like I'm not a part of any of it, because I totally disrespect the way it's done. The people who come in But the people who are who have built this community, it's like, I'm not a person of color. I don't speak Spanish. I'm not African. I'm not Middle Eastern. I'm not Muslim. Like, I'm not the people who really have built this community. I'm not Asian. I'm just a white guy who's lived here for a long time, who appreciates culture and different people, and who, you know, like, I don't like living anywhere that's just one kind of person. I just, you know, but that's because I don't, what I'm really saying is I don't like living in an all-white neighborhood, because I love going into neighborhoods that are all African or all Asian or all Middle Eastern or all Puerto Rican or all Dominican or whatever. Like, I love those neighborhoods because there's so much culture. But they're, you know, they only become diverse neighborhoods when gentrification hits that neighborhood and kind of fucks it up for the people who have lived there forever. And they're not trying to, like, hurt anybody or do anything bad to anybody. They're just there living their lives, you know, basically being oppressed by white supremacy. And then people come in and they rebuild the neighborhood, which has been impoverished for reasons like racism and xenophobia and all that kind of stuff. So these people are surviving, doing the best that they can, you know, building a beautiful neighborhood of music and culture and food and all the things that we love to partake of. And then they can't afford to live there anymore. And so then, you know, just a few people remain, but most of the people get pushed out. And so anyway, I say all that to say, I can't just go up and down the streets of Poughkeepsie and shoot people to make a cool video, to get a lot of views, to do shit like that. It grosses me out to think that I would do something like that. And I won't do it. And I'm somebody who clearly understands that, you know, this country was built upon gentrification. You know, we're all on stolen land. You know, the Native Americans just got murdered, they got raped, they got pushed out, they got everything stolen from them. That's a debt that we have not repaid. Slavery, you know, like all people of color, like there's been so much oppression in this country. And yet we've always celebrated as diversity and culture and all that. But what have we really done to repay the people who have given us these cultures, who've helped us to become this diverse nation? What have we really done? You know, have we really given opportunity to people other than those who are extraordinary human beings? Like, people say, well, yo, what about Oprah? You know, look at her. Look at John Leguizamo. They got out. They did great things. But, you know, most people are not extraordinary. Most people are just average people. And it should be okay to be average. So anyway, I don't even, you know what, I'm so off the track of what I came out here for. I wanted to talk about old cameras, vintage lenses, stuff like that. And I'm just going to end this video now because I'm feeling kind of shitty about this. So anyway, please subscribe, please hit the like button, please consider joining my Patreon, and, you know, check out my GoFundMe for my feature film that I'm getting ready to make right now. It's dealing with a lot of the stuff that's going on in the world right now. It's a beautiful story of two people trying to navigate their way post-pandemic and amidst all the madness and the chaos that's happening in the world right now. So if you want to be a part of a project like that, if you want to be part of the crowdfunding, I would greatly appreciate that. And I will honor your support. So it's incredibly beautiful out here. And you know what? I'm going to end the video by saying I'm glad I moved up here. I miss New York City every day. I miss the Bronx. I miss my friends. I miss the community that I was a part of. But frankly, I left because it was changing so much. And what I've been a part of for years just no longer really exists. It's like a whole different thing. So I look at it up here and I think, this can be something really special. You know, and maybe I can be a part of the rebuilding. Maybe I can be a part of, like, creating something better than what it is now in a more humane, ethical, empathetic way. Maybe I can. I don't know. I don't know. I would love to be able to do that. So, you know, I'm here, 10 toes down, feet firmly planted in this neighborhood. You know, I'm in New York City all the time. I'm close. I'm there at least 4 or 5 days a month, every single month, sometimes more. You know, and I'll always be attached to New York City. It's It's always going to be my home, but Poughkeepsie, this is my home now too. And this is my community too, and it's a beautiful place, and there are some amazing people up here. And so, you know, I've been here for a few years already, but I haven't really participated in much, and I'm just beginning to lately. I just shot a documentary up here, and I'm going to start to share some of my art up here now too. I'm going to do a play up here in 2026, and I'm going to meet with my friend Brent Buell up in Saugerties next week and talk about what he does up here in Woodstock and places like that. Like, there's so much up here. There's so much creative work being done up here. There are a lot of really progressive-minded people up here, and I want to be a part of it, you know. New York City is not mine anymore. It'll always be a part of me, and I'll always be a part of it. And I know I've made contributions, and certainly it has made me who I am. But maybe I could take that now and spread it out and be somewhere else, you know? Anyway, Panasonic S5, I'm using the Siri 24mm f2.8 APS-C anamorphic lens, 1.33 squeeze factor. I love these anamorphic lenses. Damn, can I end this video already? I'm gonna end it. I'm gonna stand up here and take in this beauty a little bit, and then I'm gonna get out of here and do some shit. All right, thanks for listening to all this. I know this is kind of eye-rolling material for a lot of people, and you know what? I've been thinking about my friend Alexa Munoz a lot, who passed away recently. It was her birthday a couple of weeks ago, or a week ago, something like that. And, you know, she and I, we used to talk about this exact stuff all the time. She was a very powerful Dominican-American activist, New York City school teacher. She died. She had kidney disease, and she deserves so much better. She's one of the best people I've ever known in my life. And, you know, every day in my life, I honor people like her. You know, people who are great examples of great Americans, like the best Americans that I know. You know, people who've been kind of disrespected their whole lives just because they're brown skinned, they speak Spanish, they have a different culture, but she's born and raised here. And she had to endure so much bullshit. It just pisses me off. But anyway, I'm going to end the video now. Sorry. All right.